Hi and welcome to our daily reflection from the YouVersion app verse of the day.
Yes, and it's May the 1st today.
Yeah.
Pinch in the pump. Today it's from Proverbs chapter 1, verse 23, where it says, "To do what is right and just is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice."
Good verse. As soon as I hear that, I think of Keith Green. That ages me, doesn't it? To obey is better than sacrifice, he's saying. And this has got the same sort of feeling, same sort of thought.
Although that particular reference was from somewhere else, not Proverbs, but that just says how much it's underlined in the scriptures. This is an important concept that Solomon wrote down. To do what is right and just is more acceptable. And that's an interesting thing.
It helps remind us that God's not about religion. God's not about having a nice checklist that we can tick off and say we've done all the nice religious activities. It's really about what is right and just. That is, what's right in relationship with other people, being honest, being kind, loving your neighbour, all these sort of things. God's saying, actually, that's the heart of what I'm on about, not all the religious sacrifice stuff. No, yes, that's important in terms of having a right relationship with me so that you know you're forgiven, so that you can actually be free, so that we can be in right relationships, that's us and God. But that has always got a purpose. We're always set free to be able to love and to serve each other.
Yeah, and this is what Jesus was on about a lot. And this is where he ended up in strife with the Pharisees and other religious leaders of his time, because he was saying, actually, to heal someone on the Sabbath is more important than keeping the Sabbath, which they just thought was absolutely sacrilegious.
Blasphemy.
Yeah,
Blasphemy.
Awful that he should do that. And yet he was trying to switch around their value systems, I guess.
Well, reinstating or revealing what God's value system
Really
is, what it's always been. Even Solomon wrote it down years, hundreds of years before Jesus. And yet Jesus is just reiterating the reality of that.
Yeah, and I guess for Jewish people, it must have been really hard when they were doing their sacrifices constantly to get themselves right in front of God. That was what they had to do. And so there were laws and rules and regulations about that. But it came back to this idea that what is right and just is more important than sacrifice.
But it's true. Christianity is no better. And just in every religion, really. I was going to say just about every religion, but reality is every religion's in the same place, that we tend to want to bring it down to our own list of rules and regulations of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And yet Paul is very clear that's not what God is on about at all. He's about something else other than that, which is caring for our neighbours and our friends. And that doesn't really fit easily when you've got to want to have a checklist, when you've got that in your mind. I'm thinking of what Paul says at the end of Romans, about eating meat. He basically said, if you've got a neighbour on one side who doesn't eat meat, when you go to their house or they come to your house to have a meal, then don't eat meat. Don't offend them. If you've got a neighbour on the other side and they do eat meat, when you go to their place or they come to your place, eat meat. Have a clear conscience about it, but serve and care and look after and love your neighbour. Now, that's not good for those of us who like a checklist, because it changes from one situation to the next. Now, Paul is very clear that love, and John is too in his letters, love is the heart of what God's on about. And I suppose Jesus said the same thing, didn't he?
Yeah.
Love your neighbour as yourself. Love God, love your neighbour as yourself. So it really brings it back to what the core of what God desires for us and of us. Great verse.
Yeah, but what does it mean for today? As we're all, or many of us, are inside homes and not able to go out, we can't actually go and have a meal with our neighbours or invite them over. What do we do? How do we do what is right and just and serve others around us?
Yeah, well, I think it's being considerate of others for a start rather than yourself first. There are a lot of people who are doing it tough, who are lonely. Some people are now isolated by themselves. Others are isolated with a group of others in a home and stuck. And so in this place, what is it to be mindful of others rather than yourself first?
Yeah. And a lot of that is staying in isolation, to be mindful of others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then reaching out to others.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself, get on the phone, connect with people. If you're in a home, forgive quickly. Don't get resentful. Think of the other person all the time. Now, these are the things that we can do in this moment. what God is looking for is not the sacrifice, not the religious stuff, but right relationships with each other.
Yeah, that's great. Well, great to talk with you today.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye.